got the invite last night when we were in Wembley for an event. So I was glad to go ahead and accept that invite and come here. As mentioned, I'm Dr. Tim Westley, running to be your next Texas Land Commissioner.
Woo! Yeah.
Before I got on this campaign trail, I'd run for Congress 3 times, securing the Republican nomination twice in Congressional District 15, which goes all the way down to Hidalgo County from Guadalupe County. So all the things you saw going on at the border, I was able to tour that border, speak with Border Patrol agents, etc. During my efforts as a candidate, I was able to lead the way to make sure that our agents were able to get 200 new jobs, administrative jobs. Yes, that's something.
Right.
So ultimately, I've gotten to a point where I was exhausted because campaigning can exhaust you, and it had been years. So I got to a point I was exhausted. I told my wife, I don't know if I'm going to get back in and fight in that manner, but I'll fight from the sidelines. But I wasn't built that way. Ultimately, it came down to a couple of things. And ultimately, that one thing that was major, Texas is worth fighting for.
That's right.
I'll give you all 5 things, and I'm going to go ahead and sit down. 5 things. Number 1, with this job, we're overseeing 13 million acres of public land. We have to make sure that we lead the way. Texas does not follow. Texas leads the way.
That's right.
Energy independence, we have to lead the way. Secondly, this particular position in this office is older than the governor's office. When it was established back in the 1800s, a portion of the funds when the lands were being sold went towards public schools. That won't change. We're right now near $50 billion of permanent school funding that goes to public schools. I support private education. I support school choice. Woo! I support those things. Yes, I do. The reality, however, is that the majority of the students will go through the public schools, and the funds that's tied to that permanent school fund is going to continue to go there. So what do? We have to manage it properly, because Texas is in the bottom portion of the 50 states when it comes to public school education, and that's simply unacceptable.
Good.
I shared 2 more things with you on my 5 things. I don't want to take as much time as I wanted to, but I'll divert and do this. With that permanent school fund, it should be protected. But we had $249 million lost over the last 10 days because the people that are watching the money invested in Russian business. Google it. So my point is this: we have to make sure we keep Russia out of our business and we stay out of theirs.
That's right. That's right.
And when it comes to critical race theory, not 1 penny of our hard-earned tax dollars will go towards CRT.
Yeah.
We have to make sure we take care of our veterans. We have 1.4 million veterans in the great state of Texas. I served in the Army 7 years active duty, 1 in the Texas National Guard, and I know what it means to serve. I was able to, unfortunately, take one of my good friends and march him with a casket that was covered with a flag out of the VA hospital. He died there. I was right beside his wife. I officiated his funeral as a congressional candidate. So I know what it means to serve. I also know what it means to honor and respect our veterans. And what happened with the GLO pushed me into this race. One of the executives said that the veteran cemeteries, of which we oversee 4, were a waste of money, no return on investments. We have to change the culture. I'll be fighting to do that. And the last thing I point out to you all is that as we think about the Alamo, and we think about those people that were willing to fight, we had near 200 defenders. We had 32 coming from a place called Gonzales. 4 of those were teenagers. This is back in 1836. As they came and they added themselves to that group of less than 200 defenders. They decided to fight for San Antonio and hold San Antonio because they believed that it was worth fighting for. Even though they lost their lives there, we know that a short time later in a place called San Jacinto, those men heard the word of what happened in San Antonio. They heard what took place. They heard how then the young 26-year-old Lieutenant Colonel William Travis drew the line in the sand. Yes, they heard how those men stepped across that line to fight for freedom's cause. And even though they lost their lives in San Jacinto in less than 20 minutes, those men ran into battle against the general from Mexico, Santa Anna, and they yelled those infamous words, "Remember the Alamo." And I challenge you all, yes, I challenge you all, that as we march forward, we have to remember, we may be few in numbers at times, but we have to be mighty in heart. May God bless the great state of Texas and the United States of America. Thank you.